following is a sample chapter from the book We Are All Children in the Wilderness of the Afterlife, a guided tour through a haunted life by Cisco Murdoch and Steve Stockton. The chapter is Jumpers, Grinners, and a Shot of Tequila, No Salt. Now, my first encounter with what I call a jumper was very memorable. Now, any medium, transmedium, or the like can tell you their familiarity on jumpers. The evil intent doesn't always jump right at you, so to speak. They also have many of the same characteristics of ghosts, in the sense that their earthly character is still with them. There also seems to be a distinct draw to the things they were drawn to in life, meaning alcohol, drugs, fighting, and things like this can be a draw for them. They can't taste or feel the effect of these things in their present state, so they need a body to do so. If a living human being is indulging in these things, it lowers their own vibration. Some say it punches holes in our protective aura of light. Either way, a few times in my life I have worked as a bartender, and I have not only seen some crazy things living humans can do, influenced by alcohol and a hot temper, I have witnessed jumpers help that along. Keep in mind, buildings are buildings. Ground is ground. I don't care how long a building has been there, the ground was there first. Things have happened on those grounds we will never know. And the ground will never, ever forget. Not every earthbound spirit is stuck where they passed. Not every building that is haunted had to have the person pass in it. Ghosts are often drawn to many things. Sometimes just a person's light or abilities can draw the earthbound ghost. They may be attached to a piece of furniture, a painting, or other objects. A certain place where other spirits are can get the attention of a ghost. They may not even be aware of each other. Like bugs to a back porch light, they are drawn. A jumper, craving the taste and feel of an alcoholic beverage that they knew in life, may be drawn to where others are enjoying the same. The energy of people gathered together, drinking and socializing, is a powerful draw. And a thirsty ghost has had a little time to learn some tricks. Well, I give you the jumper. I was a manager and bartender in a small bar in Alabama. There was a huge influx of military on temporary duty and regular town residents. I knew the locals well, and being a veteran myself, got along well with the military that came through. People would start milling in early evening, and things would start off quiet, so there was time to talk with a few people and exchange a joke, or how was your day, before things got rolling. In a room full of people, I can still get a bit of energy off someone. If they are sad, depressed, stressed, job issues, etc., body language also says a lot. I have always been pretty tuned into that. It also helps with tending bar. You know, when someone just wants a beer, or a beer in a conversation. I could also pick up on a few familiar energies that just didn't belong to those customers scattered around the bar. The guy sitting at the bar in front of me, a soft-spoken man, was sipping at his beer and killing a bowl of peanuts. I asked if he was hungry, and since our kitchen was closed that night, tossed him a few menus of places that delivered, something locals did often here. Telling me he was starving, he looked through the menus and asked me a few things about the food. I told him to make a choice and I would call it in for him. Still looking, he was telling me a story about a swing set he put together for his kids back home, and wondering what his family was having for dinner. Poor guy was weary from the assignment he was on and longing for home. I knew the look. I listened while I put spout tops on some of the liquor bottles. In the bar mirror, I see a slight mist right behind him, Thinking it's probably a dirty mirror, I made a mental note to clean it, and I went on with my task. Just then he stops abruptly, leans forward, slaps his hands on the bar. Startled, I looked at him in the mirror. The misty spot was gone. He looked back at me via the mirror and says, "Shot of tequila, no salt." I was stunned. His total personality changed. His body language changed. Even his voice seemed to be slightly different. Keeping my eye on him, he was stretching and rubbing his neck. I asked if he had a choice of tequila. "Gold," was his response. I held up the bottle of Cuervo. He gestured with a nod and a smirk. Then he fixed his gaze on the bottle as I poured out the shot. He barely let me set the shot glass on the bar before snatching it up, downing its contents, then wiped his mouth with his sleeve. "I'll put that on your tab," I said, still a bit thrown by all of this. "You do that." He smiled and got off the bar stool and made his way over to the pool table, searched his pockets, and came out with some change. He put it in the slot, pushed in the coin feeder, and the balls fell out. He racked them up, chose a stick, and proceeded to clean the table. This guy was a pretty good shot, landing back shots and doubles as good as any I had seen over the years. I moved on, setting up the bar. A few other people wandered in, and I was sidetracked for a while as I took care of things. I heard the pool balls drop again, signaling a new game. "Hey, man," I called over to the guy as he wrecked a new game. "Are you still wanting to order food? They're going to get busy soon." I knew from experience dinner made for long waits on deliveries around here. "Not hungry," was the reply, followed by this: "Shot of tequila, no salt." This seemed extremely odd to me. Not 15 or 20 minutes ago this guy was starving. I glanced at the bowl of peanuts he had been eating and thought, okay, maybe he just got full of them. I poured the shot, called him over, and he repeated the same moves he had done before, right down to the wipe across his mouth with his sleeve. He smacked his lips and did a little dance with his pool stick as he made his way back to the pool table and started sinking shots again. I watched for a second and then put the other shot on his tab and moved to the lady at the bar wanting a frozen margarita. The blender was the back end of the bar, and I watched the guy dance around the table, seemingly having a ball all by himself. I had an automatic bartender thought that this was probably getting close to the cutoff point for this guy. The tequila was kicking in, and peanuts weren't going to be enough to hold up that liquor. He was dancing with a pool stick, making little gestures to the song playing on the jukebox. The couple at the end of the bar wanted to take out pizza, and I got on the bar phone and ordered it for them. I went to the back to get a couple of 6-packs of Miller bottles. And as I came through the door, I saw our dancing pool players sitting at the bar, the pool stick sitting neatly on the empty table. Okay, I thought. He wants change, or another shot, or both. This is where bartending gets into the deeper end of the pool. I never had a problem cutting someone off or settling down a fight. I usually could catch it before it got to the hot point. This guy just had an odd feeling about him. And he sure switched on me quick. He was sitting on his stool in front of his room temperature half mug of beer and the bowl of peanuts he had left behind. His arms were crossed on the bar and his head was down. I set the beer down and made my way over to him. "Hey, man, are you doing okay?" I eased into this space trying to feel out what was up here. "Not so much," he mumbled a bit, lifting his head. He then ran his hand over his forehead and right through his crew cut. "My head is killing me." "Okay," I answered, scanning his face and eyes. He looked different. His voice was muffled, but soft-spoken again for sure. "Maybe we need to get you some food. I don't think this is going to do you any good." He reached for the mug of warm beer, and I pulled it away. "Would you like me to order you a burger or something, or get you some coffee?" He just looked totaled, poor guy, like everything hit him at once. He reached out and gently touched my hand. "No thanks. I'll just get my tab and go to my room. My head is killing me." His eyes were kind again, and I just felt sorry for the guy. The odd feeling I was getting off of him before seemed to be gone. The guy who missed his kids and built their swing set seemed to be in there after all. The bar was in a large hotel, and often the patrons had rooms there while they worked their temporary duty on base. "Sure, man, no problem. But take these with you and order something." I grabbed a little stack of take-out menus and put them in front of him. "Or get room service. You need to eat something, okay?" "Thanks," he said and smiled up at me. "I'll get your tab, hon. Hang on." I walked over to the register and grabbed the receipt book I wrote my running tabs on. I looked up into the mirror at him, evaluating if I needed to get the front desk to send over one of the guys to make sure he got to his room. Okay, just then, there it was, the mist again. It was moving this time just behind him. I kept watching as it seemed to circle around behind him a bit, then shot off over the pool table, did a circle above it, then thinned out and went through the kitchen doors and disappeared. A quick look back at the man sitting at the bar, with his head down, then at his tab. I couldn't explain it, but I had a good idea what had happened. I pulled the sheet with his tab on it off the pad and crumbled it into a ball and tossed it into the garbage. I walked over to the guy and said, "Look, soldier, the beer's on me. Just go get some rest and some food." The guy smiled at me and said, "Thank you," took the menus, and made his way out the door. I had no solid idea of what had just happened, but I had a sneaking suspicion the guy who just walked out of the bar was not my tequila drinker. That same man came in several times before finishing his job on the base. He never ordered anything but beer and food. He never acted any different than the guy who missed his family and shared stories and memories of them, counting the days till his return home. On one of his last visits, I couldn't help it. I had to try something. The place was quiet, just a few people scattered around at the bar and a few tables. He looked tired, but in good spirits. No pun intended. I reached into my tip jar and grabbed some quarters. "Here you go, hon." I placed a couple in front of him. "Go shoot some pool." He looked at me and smiled. "Thanks, but I don't play. Never got into it, really." I smiled back at him, my thoughts confirmed, and answered back, "No problem. Go play yourself some music." He did, and as I listened to you two singing out the lyrics to "With or Without You," I watched the doors to the kitchen and thought about how quick this poor guy had changed that day. He eventually finished his job and returned home. I was honestly relieved, because I had no idea what to tell him, or how to explain it. But I still think of him every time I hear that song. Songs always bring you back to something. Time marched on, and so did the patrons at the bar. The locals came in all the time, and it was pretty nice. You really got to know them, and they you. One Friday night, myself and another bartender were working. I was walking through the crowd with a tray, picking up orders and cleaning off tables. It was a good crowd, and people were having fun. There were a couple locals playing guitars with some of the guests from the hotel. Often repeat customers would bring in an instrument or borrow one of ours. It was kind of an open mic free-for-all, and it was a surprise and usually pretty cool. One of the guys that was there with a group had been tossing back cranberry juice with a spritz of Collins mix all night. It was kind of cute the way he said it, like he was actually ordering a drink. They had been there a couple hours and everything was just fine. I was picking up the table a bit while three of the others from the table were doing something close to dancing to a fantastic cover of Wild Horses from a makeshift band on the stage. I looked at the guy who had been drinking the cranberry and asked if he wanted another. "Shot of tequila, no salt." I got to tell you, I almost dropped the tray. At a loss for a response, I said, "What?" He repeated it and smiled a smile a grinner would be proud of. He tossed $2 bills on my tray and added, "And change for the pool table." I was stunned on my feet. "Gold?" I asked, understanding where we were going here, but hoping we weren't. "Yes." he said, and it almost came out in a hiss. What do you do when you think you know something, but you just aren't sure? What do you say to the guy? You get the shot and the change and hope you're crazy, is what you do. It was busy that night, so I wasn't able to watch his every move. Just a little while later, the other bartender had got him another shot. I told her to keep her eye out for, I don't know, a white mist? Odd behavior? Just anything odd. He absolutely wiped his mouth with the sleeve of his suit jacket. Pretty darn odd, I'd say. Which he had promptly took off, rolled up the sleeves of his white shirt, removed his tie, and headed for the pool table. Now he had another shot in him, and was cleaning the pool table one ball at a time, while another guy stood by and watched, holding a pool stick and waiting for his shot. I was pretty sure wouldn't come. Like I said, it was busy, and you keep going. I saw him again sitting at his table, one of his office buddies sitting with him talking to him. His head was down. I walked over. "You guys finished for the night?" I asked, taking the guy's tie out of one of the beer glasses and squeezing out some of the beer it had absorbed. I placed it in front of him, his head still down. The other guy said that his friend had a headache, and to go ahead and pay the tab. He handed me a credit card, and I made sure someone else was driving. "I'm driving," the friend said. "We just up the road." "Good," I said. He's probably going to need some aspirin. Tequila will do that to you." "Tequila? He never drinks tequila." "He sure did tonight. I'll get your tab." I did, and they all left. I couldn't help looking around by the kitchen doors, but saw nothing. I switched jobs not long after that, but another night it happened again. All very similar to these other two, except it was an older woman, and for some reason it just seemed creepier. It was a shift change, and I had somewhere to be that night. I was in a hurry to get out. I was there long enough to hear the order given to the other bartender, and looked briefly at the lady in the mirror as I grabbed my purse and pulled down the bottle of Cuervo Gold and pushed it toward the bartender. I so wanted to say, "She's going to want change for the pool table," but I didn't. I just got out of there. I didn't have a solid idea what was going on here. I didn't know the people I know now that I could talk to. I didn't own a computer then, and you just had to go through books till you could find something that matched. It's somewhat different now, as far as people being able to talk about these things in certain circles. I can tell you often they look for people who are easy targets, weak for some reason, depressed, sad, or otherwise down. I have no idea what the white mist was, but the incidents explained here were not the only things that happened in that place. There were often things thrown around the kitchen, or the doors flapping open and closed just behind you when no one else was around. I never bothered asking too much about it. Like I said, times were different. Not everyone handles this kind of information the same way. Can you imagine every time somebody ordering a shot of tequila, the bartender or cocktail waitress on duty just screams and runs out of the bar? So you don't say anything. You do your best to keep a lookout. I have seen it happen since to others, and have learned through time and experience there is often a loss in time to those it happens to. They rarely remember things they did while taken over, or do things they would never do. It rarely lasts long or stays with them when they leave. Other than this, it is still very much something I will continue to look into. What can we take away from this? Not all blackouts while drinking is caused by alcohol, and maybe you really didn't start that fight. We are all children in the wilderness of the afterlife, a guided tour through a haunted life, by Cisco Murdoch and Steve Stockton.